Lisa Brooks sat alone in the back row of the Academy auditorium, watching her classmates receive their assignments for humanity's most important mission. One by one, the best students walked across the stage to shake hands with Admiral Peterson and receive their orders to join the UCS Discovery. They would be the first humans to make contact with an alien race. She picked at the worn fabric of her uniform while names were called. Amy Johnson got assigned to the xenobiology team. Kevin Miller would work with the engineering corps. Tricia Davis landed a spot in the diplomatic division. These were the smart ones, the ones who spent their nights in the library memorizing alien language patterns and quantum physics formulas. Lisa had spent those same nights in the survival training grounds, learning how to make fire from scraps and find food in abandoned buildings. While her classmates studied star charts, she practiced lockpicking and basic medical treatment. Her instructors always told her she was wasting her potential. They said she had good grades, but no focus. She should be learning about alien cultures and advanced technology, not how to set snares or purify water. The ceremony continued. More names, more handshakes, more bright futures heading to the stars. Lisa knew her name would not be called. Her final evaluation had been clear. She lacked the intellectual curiosity needed for deep space exploration. She was too practical, too focused on basic survival skills that had no place in modern space travel. When the last name was announced, Lisa gathered her things and walked out. Tomorrow, she would report to Cargo Bay 7 and begin her real assignment. It would be loading supply ships and managing food inventories. It was not glamorous work, but it was work. Captain Joe Martinez found her an hour later, sitting alone in the Academy mess hall. He was older than most ship captains, with gray hair and weathered hands that spoke of years working on freight haulers and supply runners. His ship, the Rusty Angel, was not the kind of vessel that made headlines. It carried food, tools, and spare parts to remote stations and mining colonies. "You Brooks?" he asked, sliding into the seat across from her. "Yes, sir. Do you got Pat over for the Discovery mission?" Lisa nodded. There was no point in pretending it did not hurt. Joe studied her for a moment. "What do you know about keeping people alive?" And the question surprised her. "What do you mean?" "I mean when things go wrong. When the power fails and the food runs out and people start to panic. What do you know about keeping them breathing until help comes?" Lisa thought about her answer. "I know how to find water and make it safe to drink. I know which parts of a ship you can eat if you have to. I know how to treat wounds and set broken bones. I know how to keep people warm when the heat goes out." Joe smiled. "Good, because pretty soon I'm going to have a cargo hold, full of scientists and diplomats who think food comes from replicators and air comes from machines. When something breaks, they're going to look around for someone who knows how to fix it with their hands instead of their computer." He stood up and tossed her a datapad. "Welcome to the Rusty Angel, Brooks. We leave in 3 days." The next morning, Lisa reported to Cargo Bay 7. The Rusty Angel was not beautiful. Its hull was patched in several places, and the paint was faded from years of space travel. Inside, everything was functional, but worn. The crew quarters were small and cramped. The common area had mismatched furniture and a food dispenser that made strange noises. The crew was small. Besides Captain Martinez, there was Kate Sullivan, an engineer who could make any machine work with enough patience and spare parts. Danny Chen served as both medic and communications officer. They were not Academy graduates. They were workers who had learned their jobs through experience, not textbooks. Lisa's quarters were tiny, barely large enough for a bed and a small desk. She unpacked her few belongings and placed them in the metal locker. Most of her classmates were probably settling into the comfortable rooms aboard the Discovery right now, meeting their new colleagues and preparing for the mission that would change human history. She tried not to think about it. Instead, she reviewed the cargo manifests and supply schedules. The Rusty Angel would spend the next few months making runs to mining stations and research outposts. It was honest work, even if it was not exciting. The Discovery launched 2 weeks later. Lisa watched the ceremony on the ship's small view screen while checking inventory in the cargo hold. The ship was magnificent, gleaming white and silver, equipped with the most advanced technology humanity had ever built. Captain Richard Cole gave a speech about humanity's destiny among the stars. Dr. Amanda Price talked about the scientific discoveries that awaited them. The alien race they were going to meet called themselves the Zephyrians. They had made contact with Earth 6 months ago, offering to share knowledge and culture. They seemed peaceful and advanced, with technology that was centuries ahead of human capabilities. Earth's leaders saw this as the chance to leap forward in science and medicine and space. Traveled Lisa turned off the view screen and went back to work. The Rusty Angel had a delivery to make to Mining Station 12 in the outer system. It would take them 3 days to get there. The miners would be waiting for fresh food and replacement equipment, while the Discovery headed toward first contact with an alien civilization. Lisa Brooks prepared for another routine supply run. She checked the food storage and made sure the medical supplies were properly secured. She tested the emergency equipment and reviewed the safety procedures. She did not know that in 3 months, everything would change. She did not know that the Discovery would send a desperate message across space, calling for help that would never come. She did not know that the brightest minds in human space would find themselves trapped and helpless. While the survival skills she had learned in empty buildings and wilderness training grounds would become humanity's only hope, for now, she was just Lisa Brooks, failed academy student and cargo specialist aboard an aging freight hauler. But she was alive, and she was learning. And when the time came to prove that survival was more valuable than any textbook knowledge, she would be ready. 3 months passed quietly for Lisa and the crew of the Rusty Angel. They made their runs to mining stations and research outposts, delivering food and supplies to people who were grateful to see them. Lisa settled into her routine of checking cargo, managing inventory, and making sure everything was secure for travel. She liked the work more than she expected. The miners and researchers they visited were practical people who understood the value of what she did. They did not care about her academy grades or her lack of theoretical knowledge. They cared that she brought them fresh food and working equipment. Captain Martinez often asked her opinion about supply planning and safety procedures. Kate Sullivan taught her basic ship maintenance, showing her how to repair air recyclers and water purifiers. Danny Chen shared his medical knowledge, explaining how to treat injuries with limited supplies. They were becoming a real crew. Meanwhile, reports from the Discovery mission were positive. The news feeds showed Captain Cole and Dr. Price meeting with Zephyrian leaders on their home world. The aliens were tall and elegant, with pale blue skin and large dark eyes. They spoke in musical voices and seemed genuinely interested in human culture and science. The Zephyrians had shared some of their technology with the Discovery crew. They showed them new ways to generate power and process materials. They offered to teach humans about faster space travel and advanced medicine. Earth's leaders were excited about the possibilities. This was the beginning of a new age for humanity, Lisa watched these reports during her breaks, feeling a familiar mix of regret and curiosity. Part of her wondered what it would be like to walk on an alien world and meet beings from another star. But she was content with her life aboard the Rusty Angel. She had found her place. On a Tuesday morning, everything changed. The Rusty Angel was approaching Mining Station 18 when Danny picked up a transmission. At first he thought it was just background noise from the station's communications array. But as he adjusted the frequency, voices became clear. Human voices, speaking rapidly and filled with panic. "This is the UCS Discovery. The transmission said we are under attack. Repeat, we are under attack. The Zephyrians have betrayed us. They have taken the ship. All crew are prisoners. Do not trust them. They are not what they seem. This is Captain Cole. If anyone receives this message, warn Earth. The Zephyrians are planning to attack human colonies. They used us to learn our weaknesses. Do not come here. Stay away. We cannot fight them. Tell Earth to prepare for war." The transmission cut to static. The crew of the Rusty Angel sat in shocked silence. Captain Martinez was the first to speak. "Danny, are you sure that was real?" "I recorded it, sir. It's definitely from the Discovery. The voice patterns match Captain Cole's profile." Kate leaned forward in her chair. "What do we do? If the Discovery is captured, then the best minds in human space are prisoners. And if the Zephyrians are really planning to attack, we send a message to Earth Command, Martinez said. Let them decide what to do. But Lisa was already thinking ahead. She had spent months reading reports about the Discovery mission. She knew the ship carried 200 of humanity's brightest scientists, diplomats, and officers. She also knew that Earth Command was 3 weeks away by the fastest messenger ship. Captain, she said quietly, Earth Command won't get our message for weeks. And even if they do, what can they send? The Discovery was our most advanced ship. With the Zephyrians, can capture it. They can probably handle anything else we have. Martinez looked at her with tired eyes. What are you suggesting, Brooks? Lisa stood up and walked to the navigation console. I'm suggesting that by the time Earth gets our warning, it might be too late. The Discovery crew gave us information that no one else has. They told us the Zephyrians are planning an attack. They told us not to trust them. Maybe we should do something with that information. Like what? Kate asked. We're a cargo ship. We don't have weapons or marines or anything. Useful for a rescue mission? Lisa thought about her academy training. All those hours in survival courses and urban combat simulations. All those skills her instructors had dismissed as worthless. She thought about the mining stations they visited, where people lived in harsh conditions with limited resources. She thought about the crew of the Rusty Angel, who could fix anything with spare parts and determination. We have something the Zephyrians don't expect, she said. We have people who know how to survive. When everything goes wrong, Danny shook his head. Lisa, these are aliens with technology centuries ahead of ours. They captured our best ship and our smartest people. What can we possibly do? I don't know yet, Lisa admitted. But I know one thing. Those people on the Discovery are prisoners right now. They're probably being studied and tested and hurt. And while Earth Command is deciding what to do, they're suffering. She turned to face the captain. Sir, you asked me once what I knew about keeping people alive. I told you I knew how to find water and make fire and treat wounds. But there's something else I know. I know that sometimes the best way to keep people alive is to fight back. Captain Martinez was quiet for a long moment. He looked at his small crew, then at the star charts showing their position relative to the Zephyrian system. Brooks, what you're talking about is suicide. We don't know anything about their defenses or their capabilities. We don't even know where exactly the Discovery is being held. But we know they underestimated us once, Lisa said. They thought they could trick our diplomats and scientists. Thought humans would be easy to fool because we're not as advanced. As they are, maybe they're still underestimating us. Kate spoke up. If we're going to do something crazy, we should at least be smart about it. The Rusty Angel isn't built for combat, but we can modify some systems. We have mining charges in the cargo hold. We have tools and spare parts. Danny nodded slowly. And I have medical supplies that could be useful in other ways. Some of these drugs can be very dangerous if used incorrectly. Captain Martinez looked at each of them in turn. You're all talking about throwing your lives away for people who never thought you were good enough to serve with them? Lisa met his eyes. No, sir. I'm talking about saving them because it's the right thing to do, because someone has to. The captain was quiet for another minute, then he reached for the navigation controls. Set course for the Zephyrian system, he said, and may God help us all. The journey to the Zephyrian system took 5 days. During that time, Lisa and the crew prepared for what seemed like an impossible mission. They had no weapons except mining charges and cutting tools. They had no armor except their work suits. They had no plan except to get close enough to help. Kate worked on modifying the ship's systems. She rigged the mining charges to work as crude explosives and set up remote detonators. She also prepared several small pods that could carry supplies or people. The Rusty Angel was not built for combat, but it was built to work in dangerous conditions. Danny gathered medical supplies and anything else that might be useful. He found sedatives that could knock someone unconscious and stimulants that could keep a person awake for days. He also prepared emergency medical kits for treating injuries. Captain Martinez studied star charts and sensor data, trying to figure out where the Discovery might be held. The Zephyrian home system had several space stations and orbital facilities. Finding the right one would be difficult. Lisa spent her time thinking about survival tactics. She remembered her training exercises in abandoned buildings and hostile environments. The The key was always to be unpredictable, do things the enemy would not expect, use their assumptions against them. When they reached the edge of the Zephyrian system, they found it easier than expected to approach undetected. The aliens seemed confident that no human ship would dare come here. Their patrol ships moved in regular patterns, and their sensor networks had gaps that a small cargo ship could slip through. They located the Discovery orbiting a large space station near the fourth planet. The beautiful Earth ship was dark and lifeless, connected to the alien station by several docking tubes. It looked like a corpse being dissected by metal parasites. "There," Captain Martinez said, pointing at the sensor display. "That's where they're keeping our people." The space station was huge, much larger than anything humans had built. It had dozens of sections connected by corridors and transit tubes. Finding the Discovery crew inside would be like searching for specific grains of sand in a vast machine. Lisa studied the station's layout on the scanner. She noticed something interesting. Like most advanced facilities, it relied heavily on automated systems. The Zephyrians had built a perfect, efficient station that ran itself. That gave her an idea. "Captain, can you get us close to one of the maintenance areas?" she asked. "Somewhere they take in supplies or handle waste disposal, probably." "Why? Because every space station needs supplies and produces waste." "And waste systems are usually connected to the main infrastructure. If I can get inside through a service tunnel, I can move around without being detected." Kate looked at her with concern. "Lisa, you're talking about crawling through alien sewer systems. You don't know what kind of environment that is. You could be poisoned or crushed or lost forever." Lisa smiled grimly. "Remember all those survival courses everyone said were useless? Spent a lot of time in sewers and maintenance tunnels. I know how to move through tight spaces and how to avoid detection systems." Danny handed her a small bag of supplies. "Take these: medical scanner, basic tools, emergency food, and some of my special drugs. Be careful with the blue pills. They'll make you very sick, but they'll also make you appear dead for about an hour." Captain Martinez positioned the Rusty Angel near a waste processing facility on the station's lower level. It was far from the main sections where the prisoners would likely be held, but it was also far from the security systems and guard posts. Lisa put on her worksuit and checked her equipment one final time. The plan was simple. She would infiltrate the station, locate the Discovery crew, and cause enough chaos to give them a chance to escape. It was not a sophisticated plan, but sophisticated plans required resources they did not have. She entered the station through a waste disposal chute, crawling through narrow metal tubes that carried garbage and recycled materials. The smell was terrible, but she had experienced worse during her training. The key was to keep moving and breathe through her mouth. The maintenance tunnels were larger than the disposal chutes. With enough room to stand and move quickly, Lisa used her scanner to map the station's layout as she went. She found power: conduits, water lines, and air circulation systems. The vital infrastructure that kept the station running. She also found something else. The Zephyrians were incredibly clean and organized. Their systems were perfect, with no redundancy or backup plans. If something broke, they would fix it efficiently. But they had never planned for someone deliberately breaking things in creative ways. Lisa began her campaign of sabotage. She started small, redirecting water pressure to cause leaks in non-critical areas. She adjusted air circulation to create uncomfortable temperature changes. She introduced small amounts of human bacteria into food processing systems. Knowing that alien digestive systems might not handle Earth microorganisms well, the effects were subtle at first, but they created confusion and concern among the station staff. Repair crews were dispatched to fix problems that kept multiplying. Security personnel were called to investigate malfunctions that seemed almost random, while the Zephyrians dealt with these distractions. Lisa worked her way toward the detention areas. She found the Discovery crew held in a large section near the station's center. They were not in individual cells, but in group holding areas. It's probably designed for observation and study, Captain. Cole looked tired and defeated. Dr. Price was trying to comfort younger crew members who seemed frightened and confused. All of them wore restraints that prevented them from moving freely. and Lisa could see monitoring devices attached to their clothes. She could not free all of them at once, but she could start with small groups. During shift changes and meal periods, she managed to create distractions that allowed her to release a few prisoners at a time. She gave them directions to maintenance areas, where they could hide and wait for pickup. The first group she freed included Commander Alan from the Discovery's engineering section and Dr. Betty Ford from the medical team. They were surprised to see her, but quickly understood the situation. Brooks. Commander Allen whispered in amazement. "What are you doing here?" "Long story, sir. Right now, we need to get you and the others out of here. Can you help me identify the most important personnel to rescue first?" Dr. Ford was already examining the monitoring devices on her restraints. "These are tracking our vital signs and brain activity. They're studying us like laboratory animals." Lisa nodded. "That's why we need to move fast. The more chaos we create, the harder it will be for them to track everyone." Over the next several hours, Lisa continued her sabotage campaign while slowly freeing more prisoners. She caused power failures, water contamination, and communication breakdowns. The Zephyrians began to realize they had an intruder, but they could not locate her in the maze of maintenance tunnels. The rescued crew members helped by creating additional problems from inside their hiding places. They had detailed knowledge of the station's systems from their months of captivity. They knew how to make repairs more difficult. By the end of the first day, Lisa had freed nearly 50 people and turned the perfect Zephyrian station into a chaotic mess of malfunctions and emergencies. The aliens were no longer confident in their security. They were beginning to fear the shadows and wonder what other surprises the humans might have hidden among them. By the second day, the Zephyrian station was falling apart. Lisa had freed over half of the Discovery crew, and the aliens were struggling to maintain control. Their perfect systems were breaking down faster than they could repair them. Leaked from broken pipes, lights flickered on and off, and food processors produced inedible waste instead of meals. But Lisa knew that rescuing the crew was not enough. During her time in the maintenance tunnels, she had overheard Zephyrian communications. They were still planning to attack human colonies. In fact, they were moving up their timeline because of the chaos on the station. A massive fleet was already gathering at the edge of the system, preparing to leave for Earth space within days. Captain Cole and Dr. Price had been among the last prisoners she freed. They found her in a storage room where she was planning her next move with the other rescued crew members. "Brooks," Captain Cole said, still amazed that the Academy dropout had accomplished what seemed impossible. "You've done incredible work here, but we need to focus on getting everyone off this station and back to Earth to warn them about the attack." Lisa looked up from the station schematics she had been studying. "Bared by the time we get back to Earth, the Zephyrian fleet will already be attacking our colonies. We need to stop them here." Dr. Price shook her head. "Lisa, we don't have weapons or ships. The Rusty Angel is a cargo hauler. How can we possibly stop an entire alien fleet?" "The same way I stopped this station," Lisa said. "By turning their strengths into weaknesses." She pointed to the communication array on the schematic. "The Zephyrians have allies throughout this region of space. Other alien races that work with them and support their expansion. But those allies don't know about the attack on Earth. What if they thought the Zephyrians were planning to betray them too?" Commander Allen studied the diagram. "You want to send false messages to their allies?" "Not false," Lisa said. "True, but incomplete. Zephyrians are gathering a huge fleet and preparing for a major military operation. That's all true. But their allies might not realize that Earth is the target. If we make it look like the Zephyrians are planning to attack their allies instead, Captain Cole began to understand. Their allies would turn against them. The Zephyrian fleet would have to fight a war on multiple fronts instead of focusing on Earth." Lisa nodded. "And while they're fighting each other, Earth has time to prepare defenses." Dr. Price was skeptical. "The communications array is in the most heavily guarded part of the station. How do we get access to it?" "We don't," Lisa said. "I do." She had been studying the station's layout for days now. The communication center was protected by multiple security systems and guard posts. But it was also connected to the same maintenance tunnels and power conduits that ran throughout the station. Lisa had learned to move through those tunnels, like they were her own home. The plan was risky. Lisa would have to reach the communication center during a shift change when security was temporarily reduced. She would have only minutes to access the alien systems and send messages to their allies before being discovered. Captain Cole wanted to send a team with her, but Lisa refused. "Sir, I've been moving through this station for 2 days without being caught. Adding more people just increases the chance of detection. This is something I have to do alone." She prepared carefully for the mission. Danny had given her a device that would temporarily disable the alien monitoring systems. Kate had modified a datapad to interface with Zephyrian computers the rescued crew members provided her. With intelligence about guard schedules and patrol routes, Lisa made her way through the maintenance tunnels toward the communication center. The route was longer than her previous infiltrations, and she had to cross several areas where she might be spotted. But her survival training had taught her patience and careful movement. She reached the communication center during the evening shift change. The guard posts were briefly unmanned while new personnel took their positions. Lisa had exactly 8 minutes to complete her mission. The alien computer systems were more complex than anything she had ever seen, but the datapad Kate had prepared was able to interface with them. Lisa did not need to understand the technology. She just needed to access the communication logs and modify them slightly. She found messages between the Zephyrians and their allies discussing fleet movements and strategic planning. With careful editing, she made it appear that the Zephyrians were planning to attack their allies' territory and seize control of their resources. She then sent these modified messages to multiple alien governments throughout the region. The response was immediate. Within hours, alien fleets that had been supporting the Zephyrians began changing course towards Zephyrian space. Emergency communications flooded the station as allies demanded explanations and threatened retaliation. Lisa had created exactly the chaos she hoped for. The Zephyrian fleet that was supposed to attack Earth was now needed to defend Zephyrian territory from former allies. The attack on human space would have to be postponed indefinitely, but the Zephyrians on the station had realized what happened. Security forces were sweeping through the maintenance areas, searching for the human intruder who had caused so much damage. Lisa found herself trapped in a section of tunnel with no easy escape route. She used her last emergency beacon to contact the Rusty Angel. Captain Martinez and his crew launched their small rescue pods, picking up the freed prisoners from various hiding places throughout the station. But they could not reach Lisa's position without flying directly through the station's defensive weapons. Lisa made a decision that surprised everyone who knew her. Instead of trying to escape, she headed toward the station's main power core. If she could cause a complete power failure, it would give the rescue ships time to pick up the remaining prisoners and escape. The power core was the most heavily guarded area of the station, but it was also connected to every system Lisa had been sabotaging for the past 2 days. She knew exactly which conduits to target and which safety systems to disable. When the power core exploded, it created a cascade failure that shut down most of the station's systems. Emergency lighting flickered on, but the defensive weapons were offline. The Rusty Angel and its rescue pods were able to retrieve the last of the prisoners and escape into open space. Lisa was rescued from the wreckage of the power core by Commander Allen and Dr. Ford. She was injured but alive, and she had accomplished something that no one thought possible as the Rusty Angel headed back toward Earth space. Captain Cole sat with Lisa in the medical bay. "Brooks, what you did here will be remembered forever. You saved 200 lives and prevented a war. Earth Command will want to know how you did it." Lisa smiled weakly. "I just did what I was trained to do, sir. I survived. I made sure others could survive too." Months later, Lisa received a new assignment. She was placed in charge of the Colonial Defense Corps' new Survival Warfare Division. Her job was to train other people who had been overlooked or dismissed by traditional military thinking. People who knew how to fight when everything went wrong and resources were limited. The galaxy had learned something important about humans. They were not just scientists and diplomats and engineers. They were survivors who would do whatever it took to protect their own people. And that made them more dangerous than any advanced technology. Lisa Brooks had proven that sometimes the most important skill was not knowing how to build faster ships or negotiate better treaties. Sometimes the most important skill was knowing how to hide in dark places and wait for the right moment to remind the universe that humans did not give up easily.